Hi friends, well on this podcast we want to talk just a little bit about what a missionary woman's life is like when she's living in another culture. I realize for a lot of you as our new volunteers on this retreat might not have had a lot of interaction with missionary women. And so before we get to Beijing, I want to just give you a little bit of background about what their lives are like. So, we have done surveys of the women who get our magazine, women who come to our retreats, and we also just pick up a lot of information while we're with them on retreats, learning what are their joys, what are their challenges, what are their struggles. So I want to just go over a few of those things so that you understand what our goal is at the retreat and how we can help encourage them in their work. So I think one thing that we hear a lot is that our volunteers are surprised in that the women are so much just like us. After all, they are women, so there's so many things that we share in common. Just our need to be relational, that we love to have a girlfriend to talk through life with, and just that we love to be in community. They have challenges in being a mom, and that's compounded by living in another culture and not having playmates for their kids to play with, not knowing the language, having to deal with all the issues of how do you buy groceries in their part of the world, what's the transportation like, and all those extra things that are demanded on their time. But what you're going to learn is that they too struggle in just protecting their time to be alone with the Lord so that they can be equipped to go out and serve the people that they are living with. So let me give you just a few highlights of the things that you will probably hear when you interact with these women. They really do have a need to connect with others who get their life. And we're going to talk about this even when we give our training for our small group sessions, because we are going to be facilitating their discussion with each other, because they're the ones who really get what each other's lives are like living in that part of the world. They need a safe place to process their experiences. So oftentimes if they're meeting with their mission agencies or with their supporting churches, they want to give these wonderful reports of how many people are coming to know the Lord or how relationships are moving and deepening. But it's hard for them to admit their challenges. And so at the retreat, we are going to provide a safe place for them to process those challenges in their ministries. They want to know that somebody out there knows and understands what they're going through. So when they come home on home assignment and they're in our home churches and we ask, how are they doing? Usually they get about 1 or 2 minutes to reply to that before we're off onto the next thing. One of the things that's going to be so valuable to them when we're together is that we're going to have very intentional questions to ask them. And they will get to share from their heart. And we're going to listen to their stories. We're going to hold their stories. For probably, let's say you're doing a pedicure and you're going to have her for a half an hour. You're going to get to listen to her story and then you're going to pray for her. That's going to be so meaningful because you're going to be somebody now who understands what she's going through when she's there. And again, I briefly mentioned the expectations. Sometimes they're perceived, sometimes they're real, of what their churches and their family and friends expect from them. And we call that the pedestal syndrome. They feel like they need to be up here where everybody's watching them. And they expect them to be holy and not have any challenges, not have any sin issues that they're dealing with. We're going to invite them to step down off of that pedestal. And we're just going to minister to them as a daughter of the King. So in that way, it's going to feel a lot like when we're at our own women's retreats here in the States. And we just want to deal with our own walks with God. But we want them then to dialogue about that with each other as missionary women. So when we're in our training days in Beijing, we'll talk more about that and how we're going to guide our small group discussions in order to facilitate that. But I think some of the main issues that we're going to hear, obviously there's many women who are just thriving in what they're doing and they love living in China and their work is going very well. We're also going to hear what some of the challenges are. I think you will hear that there's a lot of fatigue. They're just tired because they're doing all the time. They will struggle with depression, just discouragement from all the stressors that they're facing by living in another culture. A lot of them are dealing with isolation because they're out in very, very remote parts of China, and they don't get to be with other Americans where they can talk in English and discuss some of their challenges. So isolation and loneliness will probably be one of the key issues that we hear about. You know what? Missionaries are human just like us, and sinful behaviors appear in their lives as well. We might hear of moral failure, either themselves or with someone on their team. We will hear about abuse, physical and sexual abuse. And I think that's probably most surprising for volunteers who have not interacted at this deep level with missionaries, to know that Satan is there to attack them as well. And we're going to be a safe place to let them process that with us. And then we're going to hear that team challenges are often an issue. Just because they are put on a team with 6 to 8 other people that there is put together by their agency doesn't mean that they naturally click with that group of people, and that they have to learn to honor one another. So that's going to be one of the number one challenges that we hear, is just how do they keep unity with their team that they're serving with. So we're going to have a lot more things. We're going to be able to talk about these issues each day. And again, we'll be very careful about that wording. But I just wanted to give you a little overview, excuse me, of what we can expect when we're dialoguing with them. And I think our greatest joy is just going to be able to hold their stories, for us to use our ears to listen and to not give advice, but we just want to let them process with us, and then we will pray about that with them. So I'm just looking forward to being together in just a week, and I thank you for inviting your friends and family to pray for you as you enjoyed this first experience with Women of the Harvest. I know that you are going to be a blessing to those attendees, and I also know that God is going to bless you through what He's going to do in your own heart as well. We'll see you soon.